With thousands of people in quarantine already, an emergency meeting tonight for the Jordan School District. The changes being made right now.
By the end of the day, you feel like you've run a whole marathon sprinting.
Plus, some Utah teachers say they are at their breaking point. What they need from you.
Plus, more snow for Davis and Salt Lake counties tonight, how long the snow will last, and what you can expect with an even stronger storm this weekend. Your forecast is coming up.
The sheriff of Iron County stands by his decision not to enforce the statewide mask mandate, while he says it's causing more harm than good in his southern Utah community.
Plus, parents say they're finding out about COVID-19 exposure in school days after quarantine should have begun.
She should have been quarantining since the previous Tuesday.
The delays in contact tracing and the impact that goes beyond schools. We start Fox 13 News at 9 with breaking news tonight. Thousands of students in the Jordan School District will not be going to school tomorrow.
This as many students are already staying home from school amid rising cases of COVID-19. Fox 13's John Franke is live in Riverton tonight, where the school board is making some tough decisions. John.
Well, hey guys, some 15 schools were on the board's agenda with rising COVID cases and also quarantine numbers. And by the time this meeting was wrapped up, some 14 of those, all but one, switched to online learning. So let's check out some of the numbers first for you. The district tells us that there are 480 active COVID cases in their schools. Those have led to about 3,400 people in quarantine. Now, school board members describe some of their schools that now have 40% of their students as absent from classes, and that is really taking a strain on the teachers. So here's what was decided. Let's start with the high schools. Harriman, Mountain Ridge, West Jordan, Bingham, and Riverton. All those schools will shift to online learning and return to in-person starting after the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, a couple of those are immediate. 3 of those schools will have one more day of in-person learning tomorrow. And now to the middle schools. There were 10 on the agenda. 9 of them have shifted now to online learning. The list there is on your screen. The lone exception was Okra Hills Middle School, where a vigilance letter will be sent to families instead. But for those 9 middle schools on that list, school is canceled tomorrow, and they begin their online learning starting on Friday. Now, the board called some of these COVID numbers daunting, with many students staying home who may not have the virus, but because of the fear of catching the virus.
I'm seeing a trend here, the high percentage of absenteeism. Mr. Birch said that he went into a class today that should have been around 33 students, and there was 6 students in the classroom today. Their absenteeism is around 40% or more each day.
And we'll have that full list of each of those 14 schools on our website at fox13now.com. One other note, this meeting was delayed about an hour because YouTube went down. The district here uses YouTube Live, but when that service crashed this afternoon, they had to scramble to get the video feed up on Facebook, and they did not want to wait. They wanted to hold the meeting to make sure that people could watch it because so many were interested to see what would happen here with their schools. But again, a lot of families right now tonight scrambling to figure out what's next as 14 schools here in this Jordan district are switching to online learning. Reporting live in Riverton, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Wow, big announcement and changes there tonight, John. Thank you. One Jordan school board member says some teachers are on the brink of exhaustion, and they say they've had enough. The president of the Jordan Education Association admits that it's been a really tough and emotional school year so far. Teachers are tasked with teaching kids online as well as in person, also trying to keep up with all the makeup work for kids who are quarantined.
I feel like a lot of people are expecting our teachers to be teaching like it's a normal year, and they're forgetting that our teachers are human.
That's Kelly Griffin. She asks everyone to give teachers some extra grace and patience as they deal with teaching and worrying about their own family as well as their own health.
Overall, we saw more than 2,300 new cases of COVID-19 in Utah today. That puts the statewide total at more than 137,000 cases. Almost 42,000 of those cases are considered active. 446 people are currently in the hospital with the virus. 6 more Utahns have died since yesterday's report. That brings the death toll to 678. The additional deaths reported today include 3 men and 3 women, all older than 65. They were from Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah counties. New tonight, the Iron County Sheriff is defending his controversial decision not to enforce the governor's emergency order.
As Fox 13's Haley Higgins reports, Sheriff Ken Carpenter claims he's not the only law enforcement official in the state taking a stand.
Governor Gary Herbert's mask mandate requires everyone to wear a mask when they're in public and they can't socially distance from people that they don't live with. But that will not be enforced in Iron County, and the sheriff says he is not the only one. Iron County Sheriff Ken Carpenter taking heat tonight for his decision not to enforce the statewide mask mandate, but he stands by it.
People need to at least have some freedom of choice.
Carpenter believes pandemic restrictions negatively affect his community, pointing to an increase in domestic violence and suicides.
You know, here in Iron County, we've had 4 COVID deaths. We've had easily 4, 5, 6 times that many deaths that I believe are related to unintended consequences. And, you know, that, quite frankly, that tears my heart out.
While multiple studies confirm masks are an effective tool to limit the spread of COVID-19, Carpenter has doubts.
My question is that just a feel-good measure? Or is that something that's really effective?
Both the Utah County Sheriff's Office and the Provo Police Department previously said they would not enforce a mask mandate. Because Sheriff Carpenter is an elected official, the Department of Public Safety says they don't have control over his enforcement discretion. In a statement to Fox 13, the department said in part, quote, DPS would hope everyone across the state would be voluntarily compliant with these measures that are only designed to keep us safe.
I'm not trying to make a political statement. This isn't about politics at all. For me, this is about what can we do to best take care of our citizens.
Sheriff Carpenter would like Governor Herbert to sit down with the state's sheriffs and talk about the mandate. And it is worth reminding that doctors say masks are effective in preventing the transmission of COVID-19. In Salt Lake City tonight, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, depending on where you live, it is snowing at your house.
It's snowing here at the station, so just stepping outside a few minutes ago, and certainly a lot of that snow coming down. Definitely need a jacket with a hood on it, and we have that snow right now pretty much from South Ogden, Layton area, all the way down into Sandy across the west side of the Salt Lake Valley. This is mostly just east of the Great Salt Lake. We'll continue with snow through about 10 p.m. for Salt Lake and Davis counties, and then scattered snow until about midnight. We'll also have some slick spots. Parley's Canyon, Park City, we're still seeing that snow coming down. Logan looks to be a lot better, but that was the big winner earlier in the day with the storm. And then across southeastern Utah, that's where we do have mostly clear sky. Now for this weekend, we'll have a winter storm watch for the mountains of northern Utah. We're looking at Wasatch Mountains north and south of I-80 up into the Uintas with 8 to 18 inches of snow. Locally higher amounts will be possible and wind blowing up to 50 miles per hour. So we will look at some travel concerns there with slick roads and that blowing snow. Temps right now low 20s for Park City, Wasatch Front 30 to 35. Southwest Utah, St. George in the 40s currently. And for the rest of your Veterans Day, temperatures will be in the 30s through 11 p.m. After midnight, we'll see some clearing, temperatures into the 20s tomorrow morning. But guess what? We're not done with the snow quite yet. We'll have a break tomorrow, and then another stronger storm moves in this weekend. I'll have those forecast details coming up.
Allison, the storms are just lining up. Today's snowstorm in northern Utah is making for slick conditions in Parley's Canyon. UDOT has been preparing for it, treating the roads, also sending plows out to clear the snow. And even though the snow isn't sticking everywhere, that doesn't mean conditions aren't dangerous.
Make sure that you give yourself plenty of distance between you and the vehicle ahead of you. Make sure that your car's equipped with proper tread on the tires, changing to snow tires if you need to. Make sure that your windshield wiper blades are ready to go. Just all of those steps that we all need to take to make sure that we get to where we're going safely this winter.
Yeah, good little checklist and reminders there for you. And as Allison just said, this is only the beginning. So if you have not yet prepared your vehicle for winter driving, UDOT says now is really a good time to do so.
Backcountry snow experts are predicting a busy year in the mountains due to the pandemic, and they are warning about several hazards before you enjoy a powder day. Even though there isn't a huge base of snow yet, the new snow can still be troublesome depending on the terrain and conditions. However, Craig Gordon with the Utah Avalanche Center says while the snowpack is currently under control, that can change with another storm this weekend.
You don't want to ruin your season before it even started. So rocks and deadfall and stumps and slamming into those objects, I mean, that's probably the biggest hazard right now.
There were lots of human-triggered avalanches last winter. 6 of those avalanches were deadly. 4 involved snowmobilers. The Utah Avalanche Center is holding virtual workshops, hoping to prevent people from being swept away. To join the workshops, find a link at fox13now.com.
Coming up on Fox 13 News at 9.
Contact tracing is not effective at all if it takes over 7 days to get a letter.
School children exposed and possibly carrying COVID-19, not being told to quarantine until it's possibly too late. Still to come, Fox 13 News takes an in-depth look at contact tracing in Utah schools and the efforts that could be failing everyone.
The state of Utah spent $800,000 on a drug that supposedly treats COVID-19. Now, a new study from 2 of Utah's biggest healthcare providers says it doesn't work. We'll explain.
We went to the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Layton. We picked one name, decided to do a story, and you won't believe what we found.
The BYU football team's had a great year so far, so what's been the difference? Wide receiver Gunnar Romney will give us his thoughts.
The governor's office is working on recommendations for how to handle the upcoming holiday season safely.
Right around the corner now, isn't it? Governor Gary Herbert tells Fox 13 News he does plan on making an announcement sometime this week. Meanwhile, infectious disease specialists at Intermountain Healthcare say despite what government officials say, it's better if you don't get together as a big family this year.
This is the year when, especially in a community where there's 20% positive tests, exponential growth, hospitals are overwhelmed. The advice from the expert infectious disease organizations, public health organization would be to not gather.
You just heard the advice and recommendations, but if you insist on gathering, people need to be devoted to following physical distancing, also wearing face masks and good hygiene. Maybe even start isolating right now. The governor's current public health mandate expires on November 23rd. That's 3 days before Thanksgiving.
A new report from policymakers at the University of Utah says the state can improve how it handles homelessness. The report lays out the problems with the current system and proposes the creation of a Utah Homelessness Council. Another issue it outlines is the need for better data on whether policy decisions are having an impact. That report is in line with a new national report suggesting some of the same things from the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness.
We have been so focused on the wrong things, and if if we continue to do the wrong things and measure the wrong things, we're going to do the wrong things.
The report from the Kem C. Gardner Public Policy Institute is now on its way to the legislature.
All right, were you lucky enough to see this on your commute today? A Vietnam War veteran standing on an I-215 overpass in the weather, waving the American flag. This is a tradition that's been going on for more than 5 years now. And even though this Vietnam veteran has interviewed with Fox 13 before, He said today he did not want his name shared, just that he's doing this for the love of his country. Now, Corey Pearson, he's the Deputy Director of Veteran Services here in Utah. He served 4 years in the U.S. Army. He says there are 150,000 veterans currently living in Utah right now.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you did and the sacrifice that you continue to do for your country.
Thank you. Absolutely. This is such an emotional sight to see this veteran out there with the flag on the overpass. The state of Utah does have resources for families who have served or are currently serving, and we can link you to that information off of our website. Go to fox13now.com.
Doubly inspiring to see this kind of display of patriotism in the weather that we had today.
That's right, because it wasn't the most pleasant day weather-wise here across Utah, so definitely some dedication there. We're seeing another round of snow as we expected right now across parts of Salt Lake and Davis counties. Let's call it Layton down to Sandy right now, where we have mostly snow coming down. This is just southeast and east of the Great Salt Lake. So as we go ahead and zoom in for you on our high resolution radar, Layton into the south end of the Salt Lake Valley, just south of that southern interchange, and then up Parley's Canyon. I just checked the cameras. It's dark outside, but you can tell people are going slow. There are reduced speeds in Parley's Canyon right now. We do have winter driving conditions, so please just make sure that you're being careful if you do have to head out the door today. We'll see that snow up into Park City overnight. That things will die down probably a little after midnight up in Summit County, but for Salt Lake and Davis counties, I'm thinking by 10 o'clock things should be dying down. And then after that, we'll continue with some scattered snow showers until around midnight. Now, once you get down towards Utah County, point of the mountain from Lehigh, down through that tech corridor, we do have some snow coming down. So please, again, travel with caution as we look across northern Utah right now. This is just going to be a pretty quick moving snowstorm, as we do have the conditions expected to really dry after midnight tonight, but for the end of our evening, we're getting round 2 today pretty much. So that snow mostly until 10 p.m. but scattered until midnight. Please, please, please travel with caution. And then for this upcoming weekend, Friday afternoon into Saturday afternoon, we'll have a winter weather watch for the mountains, Wasatch Mountains north and south of I-80 plus the Uintas as this active pattern continues. Snow totals updated. Logan Canyon still the big winner at 9 inches of snow. Park City Mountains 6 inches of snow. Solitude 5.5, Pleasant View 4.3, Richmond 3.3, and for Kearns almost 1.5 inches of snow. Now these are the totals that were active just a few hours ago. We haven't gotten updated numbers with this new blast that we're getting right now, but accumulations will be fairly minor here for Salt Lake and Davis counties. What it feels like here across the state right now, most of you around 25 to 30 degrees. So it is cool out there. For the rest of your Veterans Day evening, temperatures will be in the 30s through about midnight. After 1 a.m., we start seeing that chance for snow decreasing, and then temperatures will be in the mid to low 20s as you wake up. So temperatures tomorrow morning for most of the state, 15 to 25 degrees. It'll be a cool start. But guess what? We'll have some more sunshine tomorrow. We'll see a few clouds at times, but mostly a nice day, albeit cold. Temps around 35 to 40 degrees. Let's talk about futurecasts. This chance for snow through the rest of your evening. We'll continue with these chances scattered until about midnight, 2 a.m. and then by 4 a.m. things should be pretty clear here across northern Utah. As far as additional snow goes for here in Salt Lake City, 4 different forecast models all bring you at less than ½ of an inch of the white stuff for Salt Lake, at least for the next 48 hours. And then with the winter storm watch, Friday into Saturday for the mountains of northern Utah, we'll be getting even more snow. For St. George, temperatures around 60 degrees through Saturday with sunshine mostly. Temperatures then into the 70s starting next Tuesday. Overnight temps 35 to 45. For the Wasatch Front, temperatures in the upper 40s come Friday. We start seeing a new storm move in, and that'll impact the state through the weekend, and then we'll warm up next week. Temperatures back into the 50s. But in my next full forecast, let's talk about what you can expect this upcoming weekend with that next storm.
I see those snowflakes on the 7-day, Allison. Thanks. See you soon. The governor's new coronavirus restrictions require high school student athletes to be tested once a week. Coming up, find out what those young athletes have to say about the new order.
And we'll show you how the community honored LGBTQ veterans this morning. A new one-stop Veterans Resource Center is about to open in Logan.
CEO and co-founder of Cache Valley Veterans Association, Phil Redlinger, says his idea for a one-stop Veterans Center started on a napkin just a few years ago, and it's now grown into this. Check it out. It is the first center in Utah to provide full service to veterans. Redlinger says the center has partnered with the VA, also state and local organizations, so veterans can go to one place instead of driving for miles or waiting for support and services.
We needed to make sure we had the needs. We needed to make sure we had the services. We needed to make sure that the VA was on board. We needed to make sure our state VA partners were here. We knew we had to get the outreach efforts. We knew that we had to have health care benefits. We knew we had to have mental health support. So we made sure we got those done first before we focused on the permanent establishment of permanent home.
Wow. This is fantastic. What a place. Congratulations. The Cache Valley Veterans Association services 4 counties. That's Cache, Rich, Box Elder, and Franklin County. That's in Idaho. They do hope to expand their reach and have their doors open by the 1st of January.
Veterans who are members of the LGBTQ community were celebrated this morning. The Utah Pride Center raised a flag it had designed and dedicated specifically to them. The Pride colors flew alongside Old Glory. Personnel with Veterans Affairs, LGBTQ veterans, and their allies were all there. The flag has been reproduced and will be distributed to other LGBTQ veterans. More than 1 million veterans are believed to be part of that community.
Sticking with veterans on this special day, a newly completed Veterans Park in Bountiful had a dedication today on Veterans Day. The dedication ceremony was expected to be open to the public and local veterans, but those plans obviously scratched due to COVID-19 constraints, also a snowy day. The park honors all current, past, and present veterans who live or have lived in Bountiful, North Salt Lake, Woods Cross, Centerville, and West Bountiful. Now, a large ceremony is expected to happen on Memorial Day next year to allow area veterans to participate in the ceremony without risking their health.
Coming up after the break.
With cases surging in Utah schools, contact tracing comes under fire.
She should have been quarantining since the previous Tuesday.
An in-depth look at tracking COVID-19 in the classroom and where it's falling short.
This Veterans Day, we decided to pick one Vietnam vet's name off of the memorial wall. You won't believe who we found and his incredible story of sacrifice. That's coming up.
The Utah football team's been through a lot this year. We'll hear from the players on what it's been like emotionally to not play a game.
Parents say they're finding out about COVID-19 exposures at their children's school several days after they were supposed to start quarantining.
That sounds like a big problem, right?
Yeah.
Some say contact tracing is so slow, it is taking a week to 2 weeks to send those notifications. Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher explains why people are finding out about exposures when it's too late.
COVID case spikes and soft closures mean home learning. The high school Chad Corbett's daughter attends in Layton recently made the switch.
Northridge is still under quarantine and the cases actually keep going up.
He described how just over a week ago, the school emailed him a letter right before the closure with some concerning news. His daughter came into close contact with a confirmed COVID-19 case. Even more worrisome.
The letter indicated that she should have been quarantining since the previous Tuesday.
The letter, dated November 3rd, tells his daughter to start quarantine October 27th, a full week earlier. It left Chad wondering why it took so long to find out.
The contact tracing is not effective at all if it takes over 7 days to get a letter. Those 7 days you could be transmitting.
I was really upset.
A teacher in the Davis School District who didn't want to be publicly identified to protect her job told me the same thing happened to her.
On Friday, November 6th, the COVID aide came and told me, okay, I just heard from the health department, you guys probably should have been quarantining.
That you should have been doing for how many days before that?
We would have been exposed on the 27th of October, so it was nearly 2 full weeks.
We do things as quickly as possible, but this is a very complex process that we follow to do the contact tracing. and we want to do it right.
Jeff Haney with the Canyon School District explains immediately after the health department notifies them of the positive case, the school launches an investigation to identify every possible close contact.
Of course, there's a lot of students, and they go outside and play at recess. Sometimes they sit with different people at lunch. But that's why the contact tracing process has been such a challenge.
While Jeff says they get those notification letters out as quickly as possible, the date of the quarantine will almost always be days beforehand.
You would factor in from the last date of exposure.
Here's why. Start with the day the person called out sick and got tested. From there, the Salt Lake County Health Department says,
in some cases, it can be 3 to 5 days before we get results.
Nicholas Rupp with the Salt Lake County Health Department says their goal is to identify and notify schools, workplaces, and close contacts within 24 to 48 hours of the result.
I know that you were positive for coronavirus, and so I just have a few questions to ask you, if that's okay.
But with thousands of calls to make, he indicated that timeline just isn't possible for every single case.
We're all working at full capacity, and as cases increase, there is concern that we're going to have burnout.
They recently switched to a shared model of contact tracing to cut down on delays and stress on the system.
As of right now, what I can tell you of all the employees that have been in close contact, that they would need to be put on quarantine.
Still, when all is said and done, the entire test and tracing process takes days. It could soon change, though. Rupp said a rapid 15-minute test will have a big impact.
That initial laboratory delay is likely going to go away. So I think it's going to improve as our technology options grow.
Haney says Canyon's hired another nurse.
Our nurses have been working nonstop, and we needed that extra set of hands to help us through this.
Chad's daughter ended up leaving quarantine after a day and a half upon testing negative. He doesn't want others to find out as late as they did.
I get where a lot of the issues are coming from, but for it to be effective, it needs to be fast enough to actually prevent any further occurrences.
With school now online, at least he knows she won't be getting another exposure letter anytime soon. Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
High school student athletes are one key focus of the governor's new coronavirus guidelines. They are now required to be tested once a week in order to continue playing their sport. Fox 13 News spoke with students at Juab High School who have varying opinions on if the requirement is the right thing to do.
For me personally, I feel like that it's almost taking away rights that we have.
It sucks, right? We all know it. But it is something that needs to happen.
Now, all of the students said they take the pandemic seriously and agree that managing COVID-19 is a serious issue. But some are worried the new rules will make them miss out on big moments in their athletic careers.
A new study from Intermountain Healthcare and University of Utah Health has found that hydroxychloroquine does not work in the treatment of COVID-19. Research done on the effectiveness of the anti-malarial drug in a local trial was run in parallel to a National Institutes of Health trial. Ultimately, both found hydroxychloroquine had no effect whatsoever. The state of Utah spent $800,000 on the drug before getting a refund earlier this year. If you want to read more about the study, go to fox13now.com.
Still ahead, as Joe Biden continues to firm up his transition team, President Donald Trump continues to dispute the election results. We'll detail the political turmoil still happening 8 days now after the election.
Plus, the snow that's coming down right now for Salt Lake and Davis County is causing some issues out on the roads. Here's what it looks like at the mouth of Parley's Canyon on that east side belt. Not a crash here, but you can see those roads are snow covered. Parley's running very slow right now, and there's quite a few crashes across the Salt Lake Valley. Stick with us. Coming up, I'll let you know what you can expect for the rest of the night.
Right now, the search is on for a homicide suspect who's considered armed and dangerous after a shooting last night near Huntsville. Weber County Sheriff's Office says it was a domestic violence homicide. They're looking right now for the victim's husband. His name is Scott William Russell. There's his picture. If you've seen him or know where he is, please call the Weber County Sheriff's Office.
Burgess Owens is widening his narrow lead against incumbent Democratic Congressman Ben McAdams in Utah's 4th District race. After an update this afternoon, Republican Owens leads by nearly 1,700 votes. This race has gone back and forth over the past week, but more than a week after the election now, they are still waiting for final results. President-elect Joe Biden is in the process of filling his cabinet, while President Trump and his campaign continue to fight the election results in court.
Election officials are preparing for a hand recount in Georgia, where Biden has a narrow lead over the president. In Michigan, a state Biden won, the Trump campaign is trying to block the results from being certified. So far, several of the campaign's lawsuits have been tossed out.
We need to trust that the process will work and that all sides will be heard and that all voters that casted a legal vote will have their votes counted.
Well, it goes without saying, the Biden campaign right now is monitoring the lawsuits and asking for donations to help their legal fund. Meanwhile, Biden's cabinet is filling out his longtime advisor, Ron Klain, saying that he will be chief of staff. Also, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders says he is open to becoming part of the Biden administration.
Still to come, learn about the rich history behind a Vietnam War veteran whose name is enshrined at the Memorial Wall in Layton.
Coming up in sports, it's been an emotional season for the Utes, even though they've not played a game. We'll hear from a couple of players on how they've experienced the ups and downs and what's been the key to BYU this season. They've been incredible. Wide receiver Gunnar Romney will give us his explanation.
If we felt like we had another choice, we wouldn't be doing this.
Tomorrow on Good Day Utah, teachers take action. Some educators around the state tell us they're planning to call in sick and get tested for COVID-19. We'll keep an eye on how it may impact schools in the morning.
There's a rumor that there's more dogs than children.
Plus, Park City Pets. A look at how homeless dogs are finding their forever families during the pandemic. All that, plus weather and traffic every 10 minutes as we track more snow on the way for this weekend. You'll find it all tomorrow on Good Day Utah, starting at 4:30. Did you know the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, that's in Washington, D.C., it has a replica, and it can be found right here in Utah in Layton.
Fox 13's Todd Tenter went there with an idea to share the story, the life story of any veteran whose name is on the wall. Here's what happened.
There are more than 58,000 names on this wall. They all died in Vietnam, but what about the life they led before and the people they left behind?
I decided to pick one name off the wall, do a little research, and see what we could come up with. And the name that caught my eye is right here.
Online, I found information about his military career, his death, and eventually,
I loved him dearly.
I found his daughter in California.
He went away, he wrote letters to me, and I kept every single one of them.
This is the story of Joyful Joseph Jenkins. Born in Loxley, Alabama in 1927, he was one of 10 kids raised in this house.
7 boys and 3 girls.
Still a child when his father died, Joyful's mother took charge of their small farm.
She was a powerhouse for our family.
Amelia Jenkins innovated and expanded. In 1953, Ebony magazine featured them as Alabama's richest farm family. Today, her home is on the National Register of Historic Places, but Joyful didn't live long enough to see that.
He finished college. He went to Tuskegee, and he got a degree in agriculture.
He dreamed of flying.
And back in that day, the only way an African-American man could even think of getting an airplane and taking it off the ground would be to go into the military.
At 26, while stationed in Texas, he married Jimmy C. Tunsil. Sheris came along, and the family of 3 went wherever Uncle Sam sent them, stateside and abroad.
He left to go on his tour when I was 13.
Joyful and Jimmy shielded their only child from the harsh realities of the Vietnam War.
He and I love grape soda.
But nothing could shield Sheris from what would happen next.
The doorbell rang. It was a man in uniform, and there was a lady I remember, and one more person. So they asked to see if my mother was in. First words out of her mouth was, "Is he missing or is he dead?" And they said, "Unfortunately, Mrs. Jenkins, he was killed yesterday."
Joyful died in an accident coming back from a mission from Vietnam.
Joyful's nephew, Alvin Jenkins, knows what happened.
It was raining buckets of water.
After completing a surveillance assignment over Vietnam, a pilot brand new to the crew was struggling to touch down in Thailand.
The radio announcer in Thailand told him, "Hey, we got a base in Vietnam that you can land on. This storm is too bad." And the pilot said, no, I can make it. Let me make another approach. It slammed into the ground, and the plane kind of exploded.
There were some survivors, but Joyful was among 8 killed.
I'm sitting in that black and white dress in Arlington on that crisp September day and looking at the casket and thinking, it's not long enough because I didn't see him. My mother chose not to let me see him.
Sheris believes the crash, in a way, killed both her parents.
It changed our life forever. Forever. It changed our life forever. I've never experienced somebody whose devastation just carried on until the day she died. She actually died 9 years later. She had a heart attack.
Joyful and Jimmy are buried together at Arlington National Cemetery under a headstone that notes Joyful was a major in the U.S. Air Force.
So when people talk to me and ask me what my dad is, I always say Lieutenant Colonel, because he earned that.
Days before he died, he'd phoned home to share news of his promotion.
My mother was so ecstatic for him.
Joyful's name can be found elsewhere in Washington, D.C.
Saw a Joyful name on the wall, and that was a great experience.
What do you think when you look and see all those other names?
Those people are my heroes.
But the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which inspired this story, does not inspire Sheris.
My first thought was, look how many families are fragmented.
She sees the monument as a nod to the past, but says there's pain in the present.
Ones that didn't come back in a casket, they should have a life that is not challenging the way it is. Decent job, decent medical coverage.
She wonders if lawmakers really understand the burdens placed on military families.
If they think it's good enough for us and the rest of all these people that do that, then their family members should be the first to be in line.
For Sheris, words in stone will never compare to the ones written by her father the day before he died.
5th September 1969. My dearest Sheris, how are you today? I trust that all is well with you and Mother. At present, I am in the best of health. I have a little gift ordered for you. Now, don't try to guess what it is. I will give it to you when I get home.
Did you ever receive the gift?
Yes, so the gift was in his belongings, and it's a picture of himself in a locket that he had painted, etched in Thailand. Love, Joyful. He signed every one of his letters, Love, Joyful. Not love daddy, not love dad, not your father. Love, Joyful.
Todd Tanner, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Oh, what a beautiful story. We were just saying in studio how nice that is. Well, we're now going to shift into weather because as we wrap up this Veterans Day, we do have some snow coming down, and we've got a couple of areas where we're seeing a few crashes across the Salt Lake Valley. Right now, the heaviest of that snow making its way over towards that east side belt, mouth of Parley's Canyon, up by 80, up towards Parley's Summit. So we are going to end up with some slick conditions. So please just pay attention to whatever the signs say from UDOT on the speed limit is turned down, or if we're going to see maybe some chain laws go into effect for any of the canyons as we look at the next couple of days. But we do have that snow also from in the Bountiful area starting to really come down right now. So we'll keep the snow mostly here. It'll be dying down in the next couple of hours. We look down into Utah County. Things have died down Eagle Mountain over towards Lehigh, right just south of Point of the Mountain. Southeastern Utah, mostly clear sky, but getting back to the Salt Lake Valley, it's not just the slick roads that are an issue. We also have limited visibility currently. So I wanted to zoom in on our visibility right now because it's across the entire Salt Lake Valley from Point of the Mountain all the way up to I-80, SR 201 getting in on that low visibility, and then right near that southern interchange and then further west. So Redwood Road over into Harriman, we're seeing just, some areas of low visibility where it is difficult to drive. It's also difficult to be seen if you're a pedestrian. So just keep that in mind if you will be near any of the roadways as we head into the evening hours. We look at temperatures currently here across northern Utah, low 20s for Park City, and then for the Wasatch Front, we're in the 30s up through Ogden, then up into Logan, 27 degrees. Logan Canyon was the big winner so far with the snow since midnight, 9 inches of snow. And then coming in second place so far, Park City Mountain. We look at temperatures across southwest Utah, St. George currently 43 degrees. And thank you so much to those veterans. Fortunately, not the best weather for you today, but we'll keep that chance for snow a little after midnight, and then waking up tomorrow morning, we'll see some clearing and temperatures in the mid to low 20s. We're below average by about 10 to 15 degrees here across northern Utah today, with our almanac bringing 52 to a normal high. But we are below that today. We'll be below that again tomorrow, but guess what? Tomorrow we're going to have more sunshine. Overnight temps 20 to 25 degrees. By tomorrow afternoon, daytime highs will be around 30 to 40 degrees with more sunshine than we had today. But let's talk about this weekend because we've got a stronger storm moving in late Friday, going to come in from the northwest. We'll start as valley rain, mountain snow. Quickly we'll turn to a mixture here in the valleys and then turning over to snow likely on Saturday morning. And this will move further south, so pretty much down to Beaver where we're going to see that snow filling in. And then if we look at the rest of the weekend, we'll keep that chance for some snow through Sunday. Let's talk about potential totals. For tonight remaining, we're looking at just an inch or so more, especially up into the mountains, Park City area. Then this next storm moves through Friday night. That's when we start seeing more snow, and we're going to see for the mountains 8 to 18 inches of snow, and that will be further south than it was for this storm. St. George, you're close to 60 to 70 over the next week. Next week will be hotter, mid 70s by next Wednesday, and for the Wasatch Front, temperatures will be around 45 through Friday, and then this weekend a little cooler, 50s next week. Travel with caution, please.
It's been an emotional roller coaster ride for the Utah football team. They've had to deal with a lot, and it continues this week as they get ready for UCLA. So far, the news has been good for Utah, with no reported COVID-19 test results back. The Utes are working hard to get ready for the Bruins while knowing the timing could be called off, like it did last week, when the season opener against Arizona was canceled after a number of Utah players found out they had the coronavirus. That was tough news to hear for the players who had worked hard all week to be ready.
I was really surprised just because we were so prepared to play. We had started to master concepts and tendencies and whatnot. So, I mean, it definitely hurt not being able to go out there and compete. But, if you put the work in and you keep your head down, you can't be too mad at that because, all you've done was prepare, put in that work, that time, that effort. So you can't be mad at that. Things are going to happen. There's going to be punches thrown in the fight. So it's just about building and moving on to next week.
I think, honestly, I still think we got a lot of energy. I mean, I know we didn't play, and I know I said that we are bummed that we didn't get to play last week, but getting the opportunity to play honestly gives us a lot of energy, and I think the boys are hyped about that.
Yeah, if they do play, and it looks like they will, you can watch the Utes and Bruins play right here on Saturday night at 8:30. It's Pac-12 football after dark on Fox 13. BYU has a bye this week, but they are still being talked about. Quarterback Zach Wilson's a Heisman Trophy candidate, and the Cougars have an outside shot of breaking into the college football playoffs. According to ESPN's playoff predictor, the Cougars have the 7th best chance of making it at 23%. The Cougars undefeated, 8-0, ranked 8th in the country, in large part because they're scoring touchdowns in the red zone.
That's one of the main differences from this team to last year's team is the red zone production, because we were able to move the ball last year. We just couldn't punch it in when it came down to it. But this year, that was a huge emphasis in preseason and the offseason was our red zone percentage and our red zone efficiency. And so just the fact that it's all paying off and that we're doing pretty amazing things in the red zone, it's really exciting, because when you do a super long drive and you march down and you don't put it in, it kind of takes the breath out of you, like the wind out of you for a little bit. But when you go down and it's almost automatic that you're scoring, you're going to get some points. It's really fun.
The Masters starts tomorrow, so we'll track the locals Tony Finau and Mike Weir tomorrow at 5 and 9. We'll be right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
QuickCast is next. Good night.